Brenda J. Lilly here from Creative Consultations. I just wanted to put out a small disclaimer before we launch into today's video that says I'm not a licensed therapist. I'm just here to engage, to encourage, and hopefully empower other artists to go out and live their art dream. So here we go. Enjoy the video. Good Monday morning, everybody. It is Monday morning, the 17th of February. Can you even stand it? And here I am, Brenda J. Lilly, with Creative Consultations. I hope you enjoy this video. If you do, please subscribe to the channel, give it a thumbs up, and share it with everyone you know and you love so that we can all keep on becoming who we were created to be. All right, I'll see you on the flip side. Oh, good Monday morning, everybody. I've got my big blue cup of coffee and I'm ready to rock and roll. I hope you are too. So let's get on with the show, shall we? Today, I want to bring you a quote from George Bernard Shaw. And I did share this with my Bridge Artistic Network folks, but I want to sort of expound on it here at Creative Consultation. Here's the quote. This is the true joy in life, being used for a purpose, recognized by yourself as a mighty one, being a force of nature instead of a feverish, selfish little clod of ailments and grievances, complaining that this world will not devote itself to making you happy. I am of the opinion that my life belongs to the whole community. And as long as I live, it is my privilege to do for it what I can. I want to be thoroughly used up when I die. For the harder I work, the more I live. I rejoice in life for its own sake. It is a sort of life is no brief candle to me. It is a sort of splendid torch, which I have got hold of for the moment. And I want to make it burn as brightly as possible before handing it on to future generations. Last week, I talked about your focus and what it is we need to start focusing on as human beings, as artists, as communities, right? Each other. And then I found this quote this week, and I found it through various sources, but it really astounded me, this quote. It really just said everything I have been thinking and feeling, I don't know, for a good solid couple of years now, about how we are supposed to be and be with and for each other in this world, even though this world is trying to tear us apart and tell us we're not friends. And we shouldn't have to care for each other. We shouldn't have to take care of our neighbors. We shouldn't have to care for our community. It's about me. Me. I'm on fire. Put me out. That's what this world wants us to think. It's all about me. It is not. We are better when we are together. We are stronger and more powerful when we are holding one another and taking care of one another. So I want to unpack this George Bernard Shaw quote. He says, "This is the true joy in life. Being used for a purpose, being a force of nature." Now, I've talked about our purpose. I've talked about focusing on our purpose. So I don't want to have to unpack that here today. We could get stuck for a long, long time. Go back and watch some of the videos before this. But being used for a purpose is the true joy in life. So why would you try to avoid it because it's a little bit of hard work? We'll get to that end of the quote later. But First, the true joy in life, being used for a purpose. The second, being a force of nature. In other words, recognizing how powerful you are as an individual when you are engaged in your purpose. When you are focusing on your purpose, you are a force of nature. Yes, I love that idea. Not being a feverish, selfish little clod, I love that language, of ailments and grievances, complaining that the world will not devote itself to making you happy. You know, good Lord, whoever told anyone that the world is supposed to make you a happy person? Like, I did not grow up in that family. I grew up surrounded by realists, and they were like, you got to figure it out. You got to make your own happy. You've got to find true joy your own self. It's not the world's job to make you happy any more than it's your husband's job to make you happy, or your wife's job to make you happy, or your children's job to make you happy. You got to find happiness by yourself, in yourself, and for yourself. And I could tell you if the true joy of life is to be used for a purpose and being a force of nature, these two things will help you find your happy. You don't need the world to help you figure that out, to give you favors, to make it easy. But I love, don't be a feverish, selfish little clod of ailments and complaints and grievances. I love that. Stop complaining about how hard things are. Stop whining about this isn't going right for me and I don't like this part of it and why do I have to work so hard? Goodness me, life is hard. But when we are working at our purpose for a purpose, we become a force of nature. We get filled with joy and we don't have anything to complain about. You know, again, I'm a pastor, and so all of this always like resonates in some sort of biblical context for me. So Philippians chapter 2 verse 14 says, do everything without complaining and arguing, so no one can criticize you. Stop complaining and arguing about every little thing. One of the best pieces of advice that my dad and my mom gave me. I think they must have had one of those parental conferences after the kids went to bed one night, because they both came to me the next day and they said the same thing just in their own way. And what it was you can't fight the whole world, Brenda. You got to pick your battles. And later on in life, I had a mentor that said, you got to choose what hills you're willing to die on. That's just more, upfront and in your face kind of language. But that's the truth. I feel like in today's world, we're like, there's so many battles raging all around us that we just like keep on flailing our arms, trying to bat it away or make this one better. But then when we start making this one better, that one goes all chaotic and crazy. You got to pick your battles. You got to focus. And your battles need to be focused on your purpose. So if it's something that is getting in the way of what it is you are supposed to be doing, fight that fight. But if it has something, it's completely unattached and doesn't have anything to do with that, let it go. Let someone else, that's someone else's battle to fight. Let them fight it. If you know the person whose battle it is, be their cheerleader. Help them be by supporting them and saying, "Yeah, I'll pray for you. I'll be there for you." But I'm not going to I can't lend my hands to that battle. I got one going on myself. Right? The end of that verse in Philippians says, um, to shine like bright lights in a world full of crooked and perverse people. We need to shine. George Bernard Shaw what goes on and he says, in my opinion, it is my opinion. I'm trying to find it. I am of the opinion. I am of the opinion. That's more George Bernard Shaw, isn't it? I am of the opinion that my life belongs to the whole community. Well, George, I am of similar opinion. We belong to each other. We need each other. We don't have to be codependent. We need to be intradependent, weaved together. We are stronger when we are working hand in hand with our neighbor, taking care of our community makes our community strong and powerful, makes us all a force of nature. Making sure everyone in our community has what they need to survive and thrive means that everyone is surviving and thriving. How powerful is that? What kind of a world would we create if we would function this way? I am of the opinion that my life belongs to the whole community. And as long as I live, it is my privilege to do for it what I can. It is my privilege. Do you hear complaining language in there of it's so difficult. I can't even stand it. I couldn't possibly language. No, no, no. It is my privilege. For as long as I live, it is my privilege to do for it what I can. Yes, George. Yes, this quote is resonating deep in my spirit. It's so powerful. My life belongs to the whole community. I am here for you. Boy, is that a different paradigm than what the world wants us to think should be our paradigm. We think, me, I'm on fire, put me out. What does this do for me? How does this affect me? If it doesn't affect me, I don't care about it. That's called being a selfish little clod. This me, I'm on fire, put me out mentality that so much of the world has nowadays is exactly what is creating the chaos and the problems. But when we decide that we belong with and to each other, and we belong with each other, and that we are a community and that we are stronger and better together, ain't no mountain high enough. Ain't no valley low enough. Ain't no river wide enough. This is so good. This is such good stuff. It's a privilege. I love that word. It is my privilege to do for it what I can. And then he goes one step further. Not only is it a privilege to do for the community what I can while I am alive, but he goes on to say, I want to be thoroughly used up when I die. In other words, I don't want leftovers. If I'm going to die, I want to be done. I want to be as used up as possible. so that I know I've done everything I possibly could to make this world and my community a better place to be. The harder I work, the more I live. Let me say that again. The harder I work, the more I live. Woo! Hard work has gotten a really bad rap in the last, I don't know, 2 decades. And I've been watching, I'm Generation X. We were the latchkey kids, right? We started babysitting one another when we were 8 years old, if we had a babysitter. Sometimes we just had our rotary dial phone that we could call our parents and say something was going on, or our grandparents, or we would just, go to our neighbors bleeding, whatever. We were not raised, Generation X, we were not raised by coddling parents. And that doesn't make them bad parents. Oh, no, no. That makes them the parents that taught us self reliance, that taught us, okay, how do I get myself out of this fix? That taught us to take care of ourselves and each other. Whoever you were with, that was your pack, that was your clan, and you were to take care of them. We knew our neighbors. I talked about that last week. The communities that we had back then, we knew each other. So it wasn't like you were knocking on a stranger's door to ask for help. No, you knew your neighbors, you knew them by name. And we worked hard, and our parents worked really hard, which is why we were latchkey kids. They were trying to make the world a better place for us to live in. Whether they did that or not is kind of beside the point. That was their purpose, and that was what they were attempting to do. And as parents nowadays, you may disagree with how we were raised, and you may think, oh, that makes you really difficult to deal with because we're a much more touchy-feely kind of a world nowadays. We're about our feelings. Sure, we are. We are about our feelings. But I'll tell you something. I mean, I've been in theater almost my whole life, so I know a little bit about being emotional and using my emotions to communicate. But I think sometimes the world allows our emotions to use us rather than allowing the emotions to sort of open our eyes to what is happening and not have to react immediately, but to say, okay, why is it I'm feeling that way? Why is it I have this disquiet in my spirit, my soul? Sometimes it's easy to get to. Sometimes you have to dig a little bit deeper. But I never want to be used by my emotions. And I really hate people who try to manipulate my emotions to do their bidding. I don't hate people. That's a strong statement. I dislike people attempting to manipulate me using emotional blackmail. That's what I'll call it. And I can see it from a mile away. I'm not talking about watching a movie that takes you on a journey, or a theater piece that takes you on a journey, or listening to a piece of music that takes you on a journey and takes your emotions for a ride. That's just what we do in theater and in the arts. We take people on a journey. But I choose to initiate that relationship with that piece of art by buying the ticket and walking into the room, or watching television and not turning it off. I don't choose to participate in emotional manipulation. Nope, I hate it. Hate, hate, hate it. Ramping people up into anger and frustration because they should be whatever. That's no. And I feel like we are being constantly manipulated right now, and it's not cool. It's not cool with me. I don't like it. But I digress. I was talking about working hard. For the harder I work, the more I live. This is one of the pieces of rhetoric that is out there in the world right now. You shouldn't have to work so hard. You shouldn't have to work so hard. Work smarter, not harder. You shouldn't have to work so hard. Hard work is bad. We should be able to just laze about and not have to work so hard. I don't think that's a truth. I think anything that is worthwhile is going to have some hard things attached to it. You are going to have to work at it. And in order to work that hard for something and say, for the harder I work, the more I live. See, if you're only looking and focusing on how hard everything is, then you become a feverish, selfish little clod complaining and arguing and full of grievances. Because you're only focusing on the hard. You're not realizing, yeah, but I'm doing this for a purpose. Our focus is not on the hard. Our focus is the goal. Our focus is the purpose we're doing it for. Who is going to benefit for this? And even if you're not particularly going to benefit, your joy is that somebody else, you are doing it for the good of someone else. And that brings joy, brings a sense of fulfillment. Like I promise you, if you've never done it, you haven't felt it yet. When you do things for others that makes their life better, when you create a solid community that makes everyone's life better, when you practice a spirit of generosity with your neighbors, with your friends, with your family, in order that everyone has what they need and it makes everyone's life, including yours, better, how can there not be joy? How can there not be fulfillment? When you try to hoard it all for yourself because, I don't know, you have a spirit of poverty and you're afraid you'll never have enough, well, then you're never going to even have joy with what it is you do have because it's never going to be enough. Don't focus on just the fact that the work is hard. Focus on the purpose of the work in the first place. We forget so easily because we get caught up in how hard things are to get through. But then when we get through it, we've learned so much. We've been honed. We've been the soft, parts of us that were going to be injured have been sort of chiseled away or covered over. So we now have armor so that we can move forward. And it doesn't make us hard people. It makes us wise people. The harder I work, the more I live. The harder I work, the more I live. I rejoice in life for its own sake. Woo! These sentences are all like little baby paradigm shifters all over the place. So many of us expect the world to meet us with a silver platter with everything we want and desire on it that we can just easily pluck. And that should be the way our life is. And when it doesn't go that way, we get all upset about it. And we think, oh, why am I even here? Why do I even bother? Life sucks. I rejoice in life for its own sake. Every day that you wake up is a day to rejoice over, regardless of what that day holds. You have another day on this planet to grow, to change, to become. to live your life for a purpose, on purpose, to be a part of your community, to be a force of nature, to do the hard things so that you can live a full and fascinating life. Sorry, had to cough. I rejoice in life for its own sake. What an attitude adjustment that is. That we're not looking out for outside circumstances to shift, to change. We're not looking for things to be, sunshiny day and roses and Skittles. But just every day of life is a day to rejoice. He goes on to say, life is no brief candle to me. Shakespeare said, life is but a brief candle, right? We only live a short time on this earth. But George Bernard Shaw says, life is no brief candle to me. It is a sort of splendid torch, which I have got a hold of for a moment. It's not a candle, it's a torch. It is this thing that illuminates an entire room the minute you walk in. If you are a force of nature with this torch of life burning inside of you, that is your purpose, that you're willing to be a part of the community and be who you were created to be and be that fully and completely and live your life on purpose. Woo! It is a burning torch that you get to hold for this moment. And then he goes on to say, and I want to make it burn as brightly as possible. He wants to live his life so powerfully on purpose that his torch will be so bright and vibrant that all who see it are affected by it. How cool is that? Your life, my life, our lives are that torch. Woo! Preach it, Brenda. And I want to make it burn as brightly as possible before handing it on to future generations. See, when we go, our torch doesn't go out, it gets passed to the next generation. So if you have just this weak little candle, because you haven't tended the fire in it, you haven't helped it to grow and become by living your purpose and becoming the force of nature you were created to be, you have less of a gift to pass on to future generations. If you live in a spirit of poverty, in a spirit of not enough, in a spirit of fear over not having enough, so you hoard and you keep all these little things and all the big things and every little thing to yourself, not sharing the wealth that you have been given, whether that wealth is a pot of soup or clothes, shoes, spirit, words, art, walks in nature, whatever it is that you bring, whatever your gift is that you have been given to hone and share with the world. If you haven't honed it, if you don't build it and feed the flames of that fire inside of yourself. If instead you focus on what you don't have rather than what it is you already have, which last week I said we have everything inside of us that we need to succeed. We are not our father. We are not our mother. We are not our brother, our sister, our cousins. We are not anyone else but who we were created to be. And if we finally start living for our purpose, instead of listening to every other voice in the room telling us what we should do, because they're afraid, man, what a world this would be. And what an amazing torch we would have at the end of our lives to pass on to future generations. Now, huzzah and hallelujah, isn't that what you want to do? That's not George Bernard Shaw. That is definitely Brenda, what I just said. All right. That is all I have for us this week. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please share it with your friends, your family, and other artists and creatives that you know. Even the non-creatives. I think this might resonate with some people. Let's start building amazing and powerful communities where each and every one of us gets to be a force of nature. Woo! What a world. All right. Have a beautiful week, folks. I will see you next week. Hey, thank you so much for watching our video. I hope you liked it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, subscribe. What are you waiting for? All right. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Bye.